There is never any shortage of men willing to risk their lives for a chance of real power. Men whose ambitions lie beyond the scope of their birthright, or whose sorcerous skills or physical deformities place them in a constant danger of persecution. What do such men have to lose if they pledge their souls to the dark gods of chaos? In the aftermath of the destruction of Mordheim, all manner of mutants have appeared. Unblemished folk feel the stirring of strange powers. Now a leader has appeared, a new Dark Emperor, who claims lordship of the City of the Damned. He is called the Shadow Lord, Master of the Possessed, and followers of the cults of chaos gather from all over the Empire to pledge their souls to him. All proclaim him their savior and eagerly seek to do his bidding. The weird stone that proliferates in Mordheim grants unnatural life to many vile things that by all natural rights should never exist. Men who venture into Mordheim alone are hunted down and sacrificed to the dark gods. All warbands gather Weirdstone for the Shadow Lord, who remains hidden in the pit. A few shards of the precious stone are kept by the warbands and used to create more of the possessed. The leader of the cult warbands are called Magisters, and each leads a group of cultists, minions of the dark gods of chaos. These degenerate humans are joined by other creatures as vile as they, things half man, half beast, that call themselves Gors, and which men refer to as beastmen. There are few sights as horrific as a cult warband. Deranged warriors smeared with blood and dirt wave jagged weapons and chant blasphemous rites as they throw themselves upon their foes. But the most unsettling of all are the possessed themselves, melded flesh made of men, beast, and metal, driven by the implacable will of a demon. Now the streets of Mordheim belong to the Shadow Lord and his servants.
Blood for the Blood God!
Hey folks, my name is Leif and I want to welcome you to my channel called Devs and Dice. This video is all about the cult of the possessed. This video is all about the cult of the possessed from Mordheim, which will include lore of the cult of the possessed, where to find good proxy minis, how I assembled and painted my minis, some perspectives on buying a starting warband, and finally showing off the models on my Mordheim board, together with some closing thoughts. Let's get crack-a-lacking. Starting with the box of Accursed Cultist for Warhammer 40k. These are beautiful sculpts which look disgusting. Chaos Spawn would make a good possessed unit for your warband. Then we have Nagadkin of Nurgle, which is, some of them are better, some of them are worse, I would say, for a Cult of a Possessed warband. Then we have the Rotmire Creed for Warcry together with Chaos Legionnaires. These all look kind of different. It depends on how you want your Chaos Warband to look like. We even have the Cawdor Gang, which is from Necromunda. But I would say if you want to go old school, then look into Frostgrave Cultists. Another option is, of course, to do what I did. I got my miniatures from Rotten Factory. I simply reached out to Pavel and asked if he would be willing to send some miniatures my way for my Cult of a Possessed warband. He was more than happy and he sent me actually a whole bunch of extra models. I'm happy to say that the sculpts look amazing. And the details are there. The only thing I would say is I do not know how durable the resin is. Obviously it will never be as durable as plastic miniatures, but so far I've had no breaks, so they seem to be a whole lot more sturdier than at least what I get when I do my resin printing. As you can see, when I assembled the miniatures, I tend to pin most of the limbs just to make sure that they really adhere to the body. Bit by bit, I got this warband squared away. Now, there were some models that I was still missing, and in my head, I wanted to have some beastmen, and for me, they really do look like, I guess, humanoid goats. That is my image of beastmen. I know you can make them however you want. This is chaos, this is Cult of the Possessed. Your beastmen can look however you want. But I decided to put Pavel's miniatures side by side with what many consider the best in the industry, and I'm happy to say that they didn't disappoint. Here you can see the lineup of the different units, and you can also see here which ones I'm going to use as what. And I'm happy to say that, to me at least, all of these made sense, and they look amazing. This time around, when it came to basing, I thought about if I wanted to do cobblestone streets or not, and I actually wanted to lean into the more wilder side, so I made a more traditional basing using different size of rocks and gravel and such. All of the minis are of course primed black first through the airbrush, and then I do a zenithal prime, shooting some white ink from above. The first paint was actually some contrast paints, which I shot through the airbrush, again following the zenithal plan, one lighter blue color from above and a darker one from below. After that, it was time to brush it up and paint in those details, and even use some washes to get a little bit more reddish tone in the skin. All in all, I thought this looked pretty good. Now, for the other possessed, well, it's kind of naked, you know what I mean? But it has lots of disgusting details. It even has a brother next to it. But I went full on with the sort of Caucasian skin that had some miscoloring here and there just to make it seem disgusting. When it came to the other units, a lot of them were skin, or the majority of them had a lot of skin, and this I feel strangely comfortable with painting. But when it came to the actual colors of the warband, I knew I wanted to have something that stuck out. First I started with the sort of green beige, but then it was a little bit boring, so eventually I went with a sort of Swedish color, yellow and blue. And of course we Swedes are very, very famous around the world for our chaotic nature, right? The beastmen were quite simple to paint up. I did a little bit of a different take on the skin. It was more reddish brown in the base, but I pretty much used similar skin tones to do the mid highlights to highlights, and I thought that looked kinda good. When it came to their hair, I used plenty of different washes, because again, I'm looking at getting these to look great for the tabletop. I don't know what we should call it, if we should call it tabletop or tabletop plus, I don't care. I was having fun painting all of these warbands because they were clear, but at the same time there were differences between them, and I had to take some creative liberties, which I really loved. Especially when it came to the miniatures from Rotten Factory. So thank you again, Pavel. Now, similar to how you would pick your minis for the warband, the Cult of the Possessed, man, it is really a tricky warband to get a grip on. Simply because most of the rules are similar, just so we're clear on that. That's not the problematic part. The problematic part really comes to me when you start looking at the Possessed and the Mutants because of their mutations. Now, the rules state clearly that the first mutation you buy at cost. The second mutation for a miniature costs double the amount. Now, the question is, with these mutations, they cost quite a bit of money, but at the same time, two of the unit types are heroes, and you want to have that exploration roll like I mentioned before. It's a tricky balance, but I decided that I wanted one Possessed, and I would have two Mutants,
And together with the Magister, that would give me at least 4 heroes. And all in all, I added 3 beastmen as well, and that gave me at least 7 units. And it ended up costing exactly 500 gold crowns. And for my starting spell, it became the Eye of God, which has a kind of random element to it, which is particularly fun. Here you can see my starting warband, and here are the reserves. Hopefully I will get to recruit them soon. You know the drill. As always, I want to see how my warband looks on my Mordheim board. And every time I do this, there's a little tingly sensation in my body. It's starting to get a little bit ridiculous, but it really is quite amazing what you can do with some simple foam and some techniques. Again, I have to thank Pavel for sending me these miniatures. I'm not a pro painter in any way, but I think they look amazing on the tabletop. Me personally, I love that splash of color with the blue and the golden yellow. It makes them stand out, and it also brings them all clearly into the same warband. And as far as the quality of the miniatures that Rotten Factory produces, I can honestly say that looking at the tabletop, they can stand side by side with Games Workshop and not be ashamed at all. They are equally good in my opinion when it comes to the visual quality, and the aesthetics are amazing. So we're coming up to the end of this video, and I want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to thank my patrons for their support, but as usual, a special shout out goes to my champion and legend level patrons. So thank you Andreas Winberg, Angata, Arjen Angenent, Bo Ahlgren, Erik Ortman, Jason Chastain, Lawrence Davis, Madners, Magnus Solberg, Lightkeira25, Leander, Niklas Swedenlind, and Oliver Granlund. Thank you so much guys for your support. You are really what's keeping this channel afloat. Now if you like this video and you want to see more of my videos, then YouTube recommends that you should be watching this. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.